Hey Mavs fans, thanks for tuning in to the All Things Mavs podcast. Now, I want to give a quick disclaimer before you listen all the way through this. I finished recording this podcast right before Patrick Beverley re-signed with the Los Angeles Clippers and Reggie Bullock signed with the New York Knicks. So I mentioned both of those names in this podcast, but just a disclaimer, we already know where they are going. Thanks again for listening, and we will talk soon. Enjoy the podcast.
All things Mavs.
And they'll reset. Nowitzki again for the lead. Bang!
Day one of free agency is kind of over as I record this, but things are continuing to go on as we speak. And so much just happened that I don't even know how to process it. Earlier today, I was super excited to get on and record this podcast, and as the day went on, I got less and less excited because it's not pretty for Dallas. It's not pretty for the Mavs. It's not pretty for our fans, aka us, aka the guys or everyone that's listening right now. What a mess, man, today was. And I've said this on my Twitter. I'm going to say it on here too. I am one of the more optimistic Mavs fans on Twitter. One of the more optimistic Mavs fans accounts as well, just in general. It just faded today as the day went on. And in case you missed a lot of it, I'll try to recap as much as I can because it was just an absolute mess. But we'll start from the top, kind of work our way down. Because as we work down, we get uglier and uglier and uglier. So, of course, the day opens up and, right off the bat, everything happens. Kevin Durant goes to Brooklyn. Kyrie goes to Brooklyn. I'm not really going to focus on the all-around NBA stuff today. I'm going to focus mainly on just the Mavs and who they were affected or, players that could have affected their free agency plans because, in all honesty, there was quite a bit of stuff that happened. So, I'm also getting news or tweets in here as we go. Like Kristaps Porzingis just posted on his Instagram, an Instagram story of him in Mavs warm-up gear. He said, "Excited for this opportunity, thankful for the support. Let's go Mavs." So that's cool. And that's kind of where we start because it opened up and nearly immediately Kristaps Porzingis agrees to his 5-year, $158 million max contract with the Mavs, and everybody's all happy about that. Right when free agency opened, that went down, and, it couldn't ask for much more. That was the main reason we traded for him, is to get him in a Maverick uniform long term, and it officially happened right when free agency opened. And then things went a little south, and the Milwaukee Bucks let Malcolm Brogdon walk. But they didn't let him walk to Dallas, and he went to Indiana for about $21 million, which I thought we would have definitely offered more to. But here's the thing with that. The Indiana Pacers did make a trade there. So if I get distracted, I'm sorry. It's because I am getting notifications and updates as I record this because it's 11:30. The night's not over by any means. It's still 9:30 in LA, and that's where a lot of free agents are held. But anyway, Malcolm Brogdon goes to the Pacers on a sign and trade type deal. I wasn't that mad about that one because it was a sign and trade, and the Pacers did have to give stuff up. It wasn't just straight up Brogdon signing with the Pacers, so I didn't feel like Dallas really technically missed out there. After that, Dwight Powell agrees to a 3-year extension for $33 million, and I was ecstatic about that deal because it's about $1 million more than his cap is, or than his contract is right now. He's making about $10 million right now, so he'll get about $11 million per year over the next 3 years. I think that is an absolute steal. I truly believe Dallas was going to give him more, like $14 million, and that made me nervous, but hey, 3 years, $33 million for Dwight Powell right in the middle of his prime and into the end of it is just absolutely perfect. Great extension, great move for Dallas right there. And things were going well. Free agency was still kind of early. The only guy we felt like we really missed out on yet was Malcolm Brogdon. Things were okay. And then Tim McMahon was on ESPN. And so as I'm recording this, just got a tweet notification here from Tim Cato. And it turns out the Kelly Olynyk, Derek Jones deal is off. We'll get to that in just a minute because there were some other interesting notes here. It's officially off. Like he is stating for the final time, it sounds like, is finally off. But anyway, Danny Green is a prime target for the Dallas Mavericks, according to Brian Windhorst. And then Danny Green's co-host on a show said that Danny Green's talking to Toronto and Dallas. So that's cool. That's definitely a top guy for the Mavericks, a guy that I'd be super interested in, a guy that would fit beautifully in the backcourt with somebody else, maybe Brunson, maybe Patrick Beverley, but we're going to get to him as well because something just dropped about him from Brad Townsend that I'm not excited to talk about, but I'm going to tell you about it. But Danny Green would be a perfect fit. His great three-point shooting, a great defensive player, a smart veteran that brings a lot to this team. And it sounds like he's between Toronto and Dallas. And if he is, it all comes down to Kawhi Leonard. We'll kind of figure out probably in the next couple of days what Kawhi Leonard is going to do. But if he goes back to Toronto, I think Danny Green's going to go back to Toronto. But if he goes back to the Lakers, then all hell breaks loose, and I don't know what ends up happening with Danny Green. Hopefully he becomes a Dallas Maverick because we're holding out for anybody right now, guys. I'm with you on all of it, so we'll keep getting to it. Then, after that, Brad Townsend talks to a Mavs source at about 3:30 p.m. Dallas time. Mavs source tells him, quote, "It's been a good day." He wasn't very specific. At 3:30, yeah, I guess it was kind of a good day because we got Porzingis locked in. We got Dwight Powell locked in. And then everything went quiet. Julius Randle went to the Knicks for way too much money, so kind of glad we didn't give him $21 million. And Terrence Ross goes off the board. I'm trying to think of some other targets that went off the board in between then and, around that time. That's really about it. I mean, not a ton of Maverick. Oh, Al Horford went off the board. Tobias Harris went off the board. All those guys figured out where they were going to go. And then, besides Malcolm Brogdon and then all that stuff kind of trickled down as the day went on. Not targets I really expected us to get, except for Malcolm Brogdon. I actually did. By the opening of free agency, I kind of thought we were actually going to end up with him. Obviously, that didn't happen. He's now on the Indiana Pacers. A great fit there, and I'm not really surprised after the sign and trade that we did not land him. So then things are quiet. Good news, Dallas feels good about how the day's going. And then Tim McMahon tweets out, "Mavs have had productive discussions with Maxi Kleber and are optimistic about reaching a long-term deal with their restricted free agent power forward/center." That's great news because I want Maxi Kleber back really, really badly, especially right now. If we lose out on him, there are going to be a lot of upset Maverick fans, including me. If you're not already upset, losing Maxi would be a big thing. But Tim McMahon says they feel good about reaching a long-term deal. Sign me up for Kleber for 4-ish years, and I'd be really happy about that. After that, that's when Julius ends up going to New York. Kristaps Porzingis posts a story on his Instagram that he's in Dallas. That's great. And then all hell breaks loose. I mean, everything just goes south. Actually, I take that back. It goes up and then it drops because all of a sudden, according to Wojnarowski on ESPN, he says, or he tells Rachel Nichols apparently, or Shelburne did, or somebody, I'm still very unclear about how this all went down, puts into Rachel Nichols' ear that Goran Dragic will be sent to Dallas as a part of the Jimmy Butler trade to send him to Miami. So in case you missed it, Jimmy Butler is going to Miami, but it is a sign-and-trade deal where Josh Richardson would go to Philadelphia, and Miami would then send Dragic to Dallas, and there'd be some other moving parts. But that was the original report. That's what we heard at first. And to be honest, I was like, I hope we dump some salary with that. And then I was like, you know what? We didn't give up anything, and we just acquired a starting point guard in Goran Dragic. Like, we acquired Luka Doncic's best friend, his mentor, for absolutely nothing, a guy that made an all-star team in 2018 for nothing, and then if we stretch and waive Courtney Lee, we still would have had $19 million in cap space. So you go get Dragic and you get Courtney Lee off the books via stretch and waive. That's $19 million still to mess with in cap space with your starting point guard solidified in Goran Dragic. So timestamp on that is about 6:30 p.m. Dallas time. And then it kept getting weirder and weirder and weirder and weirder because Dallas reporters came out and they said, we confirmed Dragic will be a Dallas Maverick, but we don't know what they're going to give up. Did they just get him for nothing? Are they taking him into his exception? Are they going to just take him into the cap space? What's going to happen there? Then Brad Townsend reports that they're just going to accept or just bring him into space. They're not going to worry about, dumping anybody. It's just going to be straight up, put him into the exception, put him into the cap space. And then Mark Stein says the Mavericks will acquire Kelly Olynyk and Derek Jones from the Heat as a part of the Jimmy Butler sign-in trade. And like when a dog is really confused and they like turn their head and like their eyebrows kind of furrow and they're like, wait, what? Like what just happened? Like who? Who did we? Kelly Olynyk, like the long-haired guy that we drafted and traded for, I think it was Shane Larkin back in the day. And Derek Jones Jr., the guy that, has a really cool dunk every once in a while, but really never plays, and he's been in and out of the G League. Like that's who we got. Along with Goran Dragic. Okay, that's okay. Maybe this is part of something else. Maybe we're going to flip them later, right? We get two guys that are on, whatever contracts, plus Dragic. That's kind of our price to pay for Goran Dragic. I was like, all right, I kind of hate that we have to take on all that money. It kind of limits us, but there's got to be a bigger plan here, and we still have Dragic, right? Cool. Then everybody stops. The world stops turning in Dallas, in Dallas Mavericks sports media. Everybody just stops. Like literally, it's like Shams Charania says, Goran Dragic to Dallas is not happening. They will take on Kelly Olynyk and Derek Jones Jr. And I got so my face got red because I had already been texting with people and calling a couple people and saying, hey, Dallas gonna look really fun with Dragic now. Like I'm excited. Good trade, good pickup. And then I have to call them back and say, hold on, we're not getting them. I texted a few people. I talked to my dad as well. And I was telling him all about Goran Dragic because, my dad listens to a lot of basketball stuff. He knows a lot about basketball stuff. He didn't really know much about Goran Dragic. So I started kind of telling him how he's going to fit with Dallas. And as I'm on the phone with him, this other notification comes through and says, but hold on, Dallas isn't getting Dragic. They're just getting Kelly Olynyk and Derek Jones. And even if he asked me who Kelly Olynyk and Derek Jones were, I wouldn't have been able to explain it to him very well because they're just players that you take on for cap space for no other reason. And I started to get, pretty worried about what was happening. And then it's all of a sudden that the trade is off and everyone's kind of like breathing a sigh of relief, but also still really confused because still nobody has any idea what's happening. Miami still needs to unload something to end up officially getting Jimmy Butler. They can't just give up Josh Richardson. They have to probably try to get rid of Olynyk and Derek Jones Jr. But how? Who's going to take it? Apparently Dallas, I guess. And now all of a sudden, the next thing that kind of came out was Ramona Shelburne. She says, Agent Bill Duffy, who of course is Luka Doncic's agent, Patrick Beverley, and Goran Dragic, a couple other guys as well, says that Dallas pulled out of the trade because they felt that they had something better lined up and they didn't want to limit their cap space. And I was like, okay, cool. Thank the good Lord. Like, we don't have to worry about any of this. Don't have to worry about taking on the space. I'm happy, okay? I'm kind of upset that all this came out and it was such a miscommunication, but I am ultimately happy that we don't have to take on the space. I still would have liked Goran Dragic, but it's just not happening. Then, out of absolutely nowhere, someone says, I want to find the exact trade or exact wording here, but Mark Stein, I believe it was, tweets about the trade again and says, the Mavericks maintain that they agreed to join the Jimmy Butler sign-in trade under the belief that they were getting Kelly Olynyk and Derek Jones Jr. The Heat reportedly didn't want to surrender Jones, and they say that they must trade Goran Dragic to make the cap math work. So Dallas agreed to the trade under the assumption that they were going to get Olynyk and Derrick Jones and not Goran Dragic at all. And they were about to be happy about that. That's what they wanted to do with the money. Is the entire trade, is take on Olynyk and Derrick Jones, which would have been absolutely, utterly ridiculous, and Mavs fans were already pissed off about the day. And then you go and make this deal, and Mavs fans are even more mad, and then they say, no, the trade's off, guys, don't worry about it, we're okay. Everyone starts to get happy again, and then the tweet comes back out that they actually wanted it to happen. But it was the Heat that didn't want it to happen. So it falls through. The deal unofficially dies, is basically how it sounds. And Miami can't unload the space, and Dallas doesn't get what they want because they wanted Kelly Olynyk and Derrick Jones Jr. And I was just utterly confused about the entire thing because there is no reason without sweeteners that we would take either of those contracts on. But apparently the sweetener was Derrick Jones. Just a guy that can jump. He can't do anything else. Just a guy that can jump. That's all Dallas wanted. And I was really, really not happy about it. And it really just kind of upset me from a Dallas standpoint to see that that's how they were operating in this trade. They weren't operating to get a starting quality point guard in Goran Dragic. They were doing the deal to get Derrick Jones. I just don't get it. I really, really do not understand what Dallas was thinking with that trade and why they, would have done that at all. And so everything kind of calms down. D'Angelo Russell ends up going to the Warriors, and we thought for a second, oh, hey, maybe we can jump in on that and be a third team to take on some Iguodala or Draymond Green cap space. And then Andre Iguodala goes to the Memphis Grizzlies, and they give them picks, and I'm like, okay, why couldn't we get on that one? That was ridiculously bad. And then this tweet drops, like literally right before I recorded this podcast. Good old Brad Townsend says, circled back to the source, scheduled Mavs and Beverly discussion did not occur tonight, most likely due to time-consuming Miami-Philly-Dallas mess. It is unclear where Dallas stands with Beverly, but it doesn't sound as promising as it did entering today. So in other words, according to Brad Townsend, who has literally been all over all this stuff all offseason long, really even leading up to the offseason, he's been incredible in Dallas. The Mavs didn't even bother to call Patrick Beverly because, and this is the crazy part, because they were so caught up in trying to trade for Derrick Jones Jr. and Kelly Olynyk as a part of the Jimmy Butler deal. Now, had that been because they were trying to trade for Goran Dragic, maybe I would have been okay. Had that been because they were trying to get a meeting with Kawhi Leonard or Klay Thompson, or they were talking to Malcolm Brogdon or Julius Randle or anything else, I would have been more understanding of not calling Patrick Beverly. But the fact that they were so caught up in this deal to land themselves a guy that all he does is dunk, we missed out on even calling Patrick Beverly, and now it doesn't look as likely that we actually land him as it did at the beginning of this free agency. So, in other words, we are really just shooting ourselves in the foot. And it ain't pretty. I am really not happy about the way this is turning out in Dallas. I'm really happy that we didn't end up getting Derrick Jones Jr. and Kelly Olynyk at all. Apparently there's still a chance that could happen, but I'm not thinking it's likely. Now as I'm recording this again, this is all late at night after day one of NBA free agency. But Brad Townsend just tweeted a new update on the Kelly Olynyk Derrick Jones Jr. thing, and here's what he says. Doubtful we'll get full explanation from the Heat, but I'm told Mavs multiple times said Olynyk and Jones Jr., yet Miami misconstrued and later was surprised Dallas considered Olynyk part of the deal. It's an embarrassing situation, but the Heat for now lost big on Butler. So again, just reiterating the fact, it's like they're almost rubbing it in our face that this deal was all about Derrick Jones Jr. and Kelly Olynyk. Like, this is all we wanted. We didn't want Dragic. We didn't want to dump Lee. We didn't want to dump Tim Hardaway's contract. We didn't want to free up cap space. We just wanted Olynyk and Derrick Jones Jr. 2 power forwards, unless you want to count Jones Jr. as a small forward. When we just locked up a power forward in Porzingis, we just locked up a big man in Dwight Powell, we're heading toward a big deal with Maxi Kleber, and we're probably going to bring back Salah Mejri. We wanted to go trade for 2 power forwards. You kidding me? That's what we were doing? That's why we didn't call Patrick Beverley? It's ridiculous, man. Absolutely ridiculous. And there's just a lot that's going to have to happen over these next couple days for Dallas fans to be satisfied. So, yeah, it's an unfortunate situation. And it's becoming really more and more clear that we just, as Mavs fans, I'm not saying the front office necessarily, I'm saying as Mavs fans, we don't know what they're up to. We have zero inclination, zero idea of what could actually happen. Sorry, I'm thinking and reading as I'm recording, so that's kind of why I'm taking these random little pauses here. Yeah. So another thing Brad tweeted that I kind of wanted to talk about. He said, tonight was not pretty in any sense for Mavs, but bottom line for now is that they're out of the deal that had question marks in the first place. Yes, huge question marks. And they are in a major position of strength with $30 million of salary cap space while numerous teams gasp for financial flexibility. That is true. I will say that is a good sign that we do have the $30 million. And then he said, and clearly the pressure's on the Mavs in the next few days to wow, or at the very least satisfy, a very understandably skeptical Mavs fandom. And that's where I want to talk about, what I want to talk about for a little bit here. We have had so many off seasons in which we have just been burned by this front office. And maybe not even this front office more as much as this, free agents in general. DeAndre Jordan was not a front office deal. That was the free agent deal. Darren Williams was like our first ever big target. That felt like a free agent kind of position there. Dwight Howard, the Chandler Parsons deal we got, and then we didn't end up bringing him back. Mike Conley never happened. Hassan Whiteside didn't happen. Those are kind of blessings in disguise, I suppose. Just a lot of stuff that the front office can't close on. And I know it's not all their fault that they can't close on some of these big name guys, but this is their fault. This trade that they were targeting and going after is unequivocally 100% the front office's fault. That they would target these two guys that you almost have to know that the fan base would not be excited about. The fan base going into this free agency was excited about Kemba Walker. The fan base going into this free agency was excited about something as simple as Patrick Beverley, which you had a really good chance to get done. And, now here we stand going into the second day, and we're not looking as good to get that deal done. So we got to fill the roster out somehow, and the Mavs have to figure out how they're going to do that. They have to make up for what they've lost. Look, is getting Kristaps Porzingis locked down for 5 years a huge deal? Absolutely. Priority number one. Loved it. Super happy he's going to be a Dallas Maverick for a long time. Probably, I would think, for the rest of his career. Dwight Powell, signing him to an extension. Is that a win? Yes, for sure. Especially at the money we gave him to. Especially the money we gave to him. Sorry. Great deal. Is progressing toward a deal with Maxi Kleber a strong sign? 100%. I love Maxi Kleber. I'm a huge fan. I think he needs to be a Dallas Maverick for life. 100%. Those are 3 great moves, but those are only internal moves. They're only moves that were already, we already had Maxi Kleber on the roster. We already had Dwight Powell on the roster. We already had Kristaps Porzingis on the roster technically. Didn't play. He's on the roster. And if you think that the only way you're going to get your fans excited is by keeping your own guys when you're a 33-win team, you're dead wrong. And if you think getting your front off or your fans excited by picking up Kelly Olynyk, which, Let's look up Kelly Olynyk's stats as I stand here. And Derrick Jones Jr. is going to get your fans excited? No, you're wrong. Now, does Derrick Jones Jr. get those fans excited that only watch a few games and they don't know what you gave up and they don't know what you had the potential to get and they see him dunk a couple times in games? Yeah. That'll excite the, I hate to say it, but a lot of our fans that go to every single game are, casual fans. And when they see him on the court, they'll probably be excited by some of the stuff he does, but not on a consistent basis. Kelly Olynyk last season, who the Mavs wanted to trade for. Now, he was 27. He is 27 years old. He is a young guy, so he does fit the timeline. He averaged 10 points. He averaged 4.7 rebounds. He shot 35% from three, so a pretty good three-point shooter. He started 36 games for a tanking Miami team, and he blocked 0.5 shots per game. He's blocked 0.5 shots per game his entire career. 9.9 points per game for his entire career. That's who Dallas wanted tonight. That's who Dallas was targeting tonight, was Kelly Olynyk. Now, I do suppose they were trying to take on his contract as an idea to snag Derrick Jones Jr., who is listed as a small forward. I kept calling him a power forward. Scratch that. You want to know what Derrick Jones Jr.'s stats were last year? Let me tell you. Played in 60 games. He averaged 7 points per game. He averaged 4 rebounds per game. He shot the ball 30.8% from three. He's a 28.3% shooter from three. He's played started in 2016, 2017 was his first year. It was his rookie year. He played 32 total games. 2017-18, he played 20 total games. No, that's not right. He played about 60. Okay, so this is split up. So he bounced from Phoenix to Miami in 2017-18, in which he played, it looks like, 34 games. He played in 32 games his rookie year. He played in 60 games last season. The dude can't even play a full season. And that's who Dallas wanted to trade for tonight. That's who they focused on. Instead of focusing on a Patrick Beverley. They didn't even call Patrick Beverley, who is a perfect fit next to Luka Doncic. And someone I would be willing to spend up to 13. Heck, at this point in free agency, I'd give him $15 million. Just get the deal done. Like, just go make it happen, okay? And now, is he still on the table? Yes. Is it looking as likely as we thought originally? No. That's according to Brad Townsend. So, I'm just frustrated, man. I'm frustrated by how the trade... I'm not frustrated by, the trade not going through. I'm happy it didn't go through. I'm frustrated that we focused all of our time and energy on it, and we didn't get anything else done. Because apparently, that's what we did. Apparently, we took time to focus on that rather than going and getting, or at least calling, someone else. So the front office has a lot of making up to do with this fan base. And I am, again, one of the most optimistic Mavs fans you'll ever listen to. I do think they will end up surprising us with something. I think they have something in place to get done. I'm going to trust that. I'm going to trust that they have a good feeling they're going to get someone else. But there's a lot of deals, apparently, that they're waiting on that hinge on other players' decisions, like Kawhi Leonard. Like, Kawhi Leonard goes back to Toronto. Danny Green's probably going back to Toronto. Then the Clippers have the space to re-sign Patrick Beverley, and that leaves Dallas with, I don't know. I don't know what the options become then, but things get scary, So what are we, about 30 minutes into this podcast? I appreciate you guys listening to me rant. If you guys want to rant to me, please do. We can rant together. I'm hoping by the time you guys are listening to this tomorrow, which will be Monday, that the Mavs have made some moves, or the Mavs have been in talks with people, or they're the front runner for people. Because at this point, we don't know who we're the front runner for anymore. We got Porzingis locked up. That's a win, okay? Let me say this. Let me be positive here for a second. And I haven't really been negative, I don't think. I've just been pessimistic of the front office because of what they decided to spend their time on tonight. But they did get 2 mega decisions nailed down, and one of them was huge. Kristaps Porzingis signed the biggest contract today in franchise history. That's huge, okay? Like, it's done. It's a done deal. He's staying for at least 5 years, and that's super exciting. They gave him no options on his deal based on injury. They gave him no incentives based on injury, so they feel good about how healthy he is, and that's exciting because he's going to play. But now as we run through the available free agents so far, because that's what I want to do. So, credit to the front office for getting that Porzingis deal done. But But now it's all about surrounding him and Luka with more talent. Because if you look at what we have right now, our starting five's probably Jalen Brunson, Tim Hardaway Jr., Justin Jackson, Kristaps Porzingis, and Dwight Powell. And that's two borderline, if not all-stars on your team, which is more than a lot of teams can say. But the supporting cast is so weak that I don't know where it gets you. Maybe I still think that team right there could fight for an 8 seed, but fight, like scratch and claw for an 8 seed. They're not even guaranteed to get in the playoffs. It's time to surround them with some talent. So let's go through some of the top available guys after the first day and see kind of who could still technically be on Dallas's radar. Kawhi Leonard's obviously still available. He will start meeting with teams here in the next couple of days. We'll see where he goes. He's not meeting with Dallas, so that is not a thing. The next guy on Hoops hype list of available free agents is Demarcus Cousins. And I was texting with a buddy, and I said, we're going to end up with Demarcus Cousins, aren't we? That's going to be our big fish this summer. And I'm exaggerating. I don't think it's going to actually happen. But, and I wouldn't be happy. Like, I don't want Demarcus Cousins. I would not touch Demarcus Cousins with a 10-foot pole. That I am completely out on. I think the Mavs are out on it too. I'm not really that worried about actually getting him. But he's available. No word on what he's going to do. If the Knicks go and get him, holy crap, the Knicks will have spent all their money on big men. Tonight they got Julius Randle, they got Bobby Portis, and they got Taj Gibson. So I think they're out on DeMarcus Cousins. I think he'll go to the Lakers. After that, the next available guy is Danny Green, actually. And I believe Dallas is firmly in play for Danny Green. And I think we would still be considered winners in the offseason if we walked away with Patrick Beverley and Danny Green. Because that's 2 new starters on this team. 100%. If you guys hear some barking, my dog's barking downstairs and not really going downstairs to shut him up because I'm ranting to y'all. So, Danny Green is available, and it sounds like it's between Danny Green. It sounds like it's between Dallas and Toronto for Danny Green. And I'm assuming it just depends on what the Mavericks end up doing, or what Kawhi Leonard ends up doing. I'm sorry. I'm so distracted. I am reading so many different things because Danny Green went live on Instagram, and it looked like he said he met with or talked with the Spurs, the Mavs. Is that right? Talked with the Mavs and the Raptors for sure. So it's all about being patient for Danny Green. So we'll see what ends up happening with him. I would still love him here. I say, honestly, if I'm Dallas at this point, I'd be happy if we overpaid Danny Green and Patrick Beverley just to get them locked up and get them to Dallas. After that, there's Marcus Morris, who's definitely someone I'd be interested in bringing in for defensive wing help and defensive shooting, but I don't think he's really someone Dallas is considering. Willie Cauley-Stein is out there. Not really that interested in him. Enes Kanter's out there. Not interested. Elfrid Payton is out there. Not interested. And then it's Patrick Beverley, which again, I think we're still in the running for, but apparently it's looking less likely when just a couple days ago I thought it was a done deal. So not happy about that. As we move through the list here, I'm not going to read off every guy that's available. Kelly Oubre is a name that pops out. The Phoenix Suns just signed Ricky Rubio. Kelly Oubre could be a potential guy to watch out for in Dallas as a restricted free agent. And I'd be excited to bring him on board, actually. I kind of forgot he was out there. So Kelly Oubre is a name to watch for the Mavs here on the second day of free agency. As we move down the list, Wesley Matthews, I will not be surprised when Dallas ends up signing Wes Matthews to a minimum deal. Not going to be surprised. I don't know how happy I'd be, but I'm not surprised. That's what I'm saying. Not saying I'm endorsing it, just saying I'm not going to be surprised when that happens. Reggie Bullock's out there. Sign me up. He's a shooter. Ed Davis went to the Jazz. That was a really sneaky good pickup for the Jazz. None of these other names are really just exciting me right now, but I'm sure some will pop out that I like. But one guy that I think the Mavs need to go after hard is Kevon Looney. Looney to Dallas just makes too much sense at this point. The Warriors can't pay him. They just got D'Angelo Russell, which I didn't even talk about on here, but that was wild. So you go get Looney. He's your new starting center. You bring Powell off the bench with Kleba, and you sign Patrick Beverley. And maybe even Danny Green. Maybe you can get all three of them. We have $30 million in cap space. So potentially, I think someone's going to overpay for Kevon Looney, but maybe you go 12, for Beverly, 10 for Green, and then 8-ish maybe for Looney. I don't think that gets it done, but it's definitely something I would consider. I'd throw some money at any of those 3 guys, and I'd be happy. Because right now, I am not happy. Going into second day of free agency, it's not pretty in Dallas, and there is a lot that needs to be proven to me by this front office. There's a lot that Dallas Maverick fans need to see happen going into the second day of free agency, because we have nothing lined up. No meetings, no contracts on the way. We are sitting and waiting on basically Kawhi Leonard to decide, and then Patrick Beverley and Danny Green. Those are our other 2 options, I think, right now. I think those are the top 2 guys we'll be chasing. And we'll see what happens. I hope for the best. It's easy to expect the worst and hope for the best, because that gets your hopes down, but I'm not like that, because I'm optimistic, and I think Dallas has a plan, and I'm trying my best to trust it, but we haven't seen anything come to fruition yet, so it's tough. It's definitely tough. We can all sympathize together. We're all in the same boat here. So tweet me your thoughts. Tweet me what you want to see Dallas do in this second day. Tell me how frustrated you are, because I'm just as frustrated, if not more frustrated, than every single one of you guys. I get it. That first day was a mess. And it's not Mavs free agency with a little bit of drama. This was just more drama than I expected to go through. So we're going to get through it. We're going to see what Dallas does. Cross your fingers for Beverly. Cross your fingers for Green. And then we'll move on from there, Mavs fans. So thank y'all for listening. Talk again next time.